Hi everyone, it's Rave here. Enjoy as I welcome you to another episode of Jordway's exclusive podcast, J-Pod.
Let's dive right in. Today we're talking about something that affects every single one of us, the food on our plates and the massive, looming threat that climate change poses to it. I mean, think about that for a second. What if the biggest risk to your dinner tonight isn't a burnt pan, but a change happening thousands of miles up in the atmosphere? It's a pretty wild thought, but it gets to the heart of what we're talking about today. You see, for pretty much all of human history, agriculture has had this silent partner, a stable climate. It gave us predictable seasons, reliable rainfall, all of the things you need to grow food. Well, that partnership is starting to fall apart. And this is the key phrase for today, a cascade of risks. It's not just one problem. It's a chain reaction, right? Like a set of dominoes tipping over, starting in the sky and ending up right on your dinner table. So, what does this cascade actually look like in the real world? Let's follow those dominoes and see where they lead. The first domino is this. As the world warms up, pests and diseases are on the move. They're like little armies marching into new territories where the local crops and the farmers who grow them have absolutely no defenses. And this map shows it perfectly. This is where desert locusts normally breed. You've got summer areas in orange, winter in blue, spring in green. But as the planet heats up, what do you think happens? These zones expand, creating the potential for these huge, devastating swarms in places they've never been before. And it's not just bugs. The cascade keeps going, hitting our animals next. You know, heat stress isn't just about a cow feeling a little warm. It's a serious threat. It can tank milk production, hurt their ability to reproduce, and in the worst cases, it can be fatal. Now, these maps are pretty eye-opening. What you're looking at are projections for the future. Each row is a different possibility, from a low-emissions world at the top to a business-as-usual, high-emissions world at the bottom. And those red zones, that's where heat stress becomes a severe problem for livestock. Just watch how that red spreads across the continent as you go down the rows. It's a lot. So the takeaway here is that this cascade touches literally everything. We're already seeing yields drop for staple crops like wheat and corn. Water is getting scarcer. Rivers, which are vital for fisheries, are getting disrupted. Even our forests are dying off faster because of heat, drought, and pests. It's a full system problem. But these environmental numbers don't tell the whole story, because these impacts hit real people. And they don't hit everyone equally. Let's talk about the human cost of all this. 836 million. Just let that number sink in for a second. That's how many people are still living in extreme poverty. These are the folks who have the least cushion, the fewest resources to handle the shocks from this cascade of risks we've been talking about. And this quote just drives the point home. We're talking about 500 million small farms that are feeding almost 2 billion people. These farmers are the backbone of the food supply for huge parts of our world, and they are on the absolute, undisputed front lines of climate change. And even within these communities, it gets more complicated. Women, who are often the primary farmers, frequently face even bigger hurdles. For example, just getting a loan, to buy seeds that can handle a drought, can be up to 10% harder for a woman than for a man. That's a huge disadvantage when you're trying to adapt and survive. Okay, so the picture is pretty serious. The stakes are incredibly high, but we can't just stop at the problem, right? The really important question is, what do we do about it? How do we build food systems that can bend under all this pressure without breaking? Well, the experts tend to focus on 3 core strategies that all work together. We need to protect people, we need to farm smarter, and we need to tap into the incredible power of nature itself. So first up is social protection. And I love this analogy they use. It's about having both safety nets and safety ropes. A safety net, like a cash payment, can catch a family when they fall during a crisis. But a safety rope helps them build a stronger income so they can climb higher and be less likely to fall in the first place. It's about surviving the now and thriving in the future. Second, we've got to make farming itself more resilient. And this is all about practical, on-the-ground solutions. You can see some here. If you don't have enough water, you start harvesting rainwater or use better irrigation. If you're getting hit by floods, you plant crop varieties that are bred to survive them. These are real, tangible fixes. And that leads right into our third strategy, genetic diversity. Honestly, this is like our biological insurance policy. The incredible variety of plants and animals on Earth holds a treasure chest of useful traits, like being able to tolerate heat or fight off a disease. Things like community seed banks and global gene pools are absolutely critical for tapping into that resource. But here's the thing. All these amazing strategies on the farm, they can't work in a vacuum. They need to be backed up by smart policies and real cooperation on a global scale. A big part of that global picture is a program called Red Plus. The idea behind it is actually pretty simple. It provides money to developing countries as an incentive to keep their forests standing. Since chopping down forests releases a ton of carbon, protecting them is a direct way to fight climate change, while also supporting the ecosystems we all rely on. But, and this is a huge but, look at this chart. The gap between what's needed and what's actually being funded is just massive. We're talking about a need for at least $15 billion a year, but the approved funding was hovering around $220 million. That's not even close. And on top of the money problem, there's some really tough questions about the program itself. People are asking, is it fair to the local communities who live in these forests? And how do you even prove it's working? I mean, how can you be sure a forest is still standing because of the program? These are incredibly complex challenges to solve. So what this all comes down to is that there's no single easy answer. Building a food system that can actually withstand these pressures requires everyone to work together. It has to happen at the local level, with communities managing their own resources, and it has to happen at the international level, with countries cooperating on everything from trade to risk. Which leaves us with the one final massive question. We know the system is stressed. We know what the solutions look like. The challenge isn't a lack of ideas, it's a race against the clock. Can we invest in these solutions? Can we adapt our farms and our communities fast enough? Because the answer to that question is going to define the future of food for everyone.